We all have weird habits, and I've seen a lot of crazy shit out there on the road, traveling the country, doing stand-up comedy in my day. But this last weekend in Bay City, Michigan, was the first time I've ever been exposed to the concept of pocket meat. Actually, that's not really true. But I'll tell you all about it here. It's January 15th. It's a Monday afternoon, 4:20 p.m. This is your good friend jer-dog. This is the 420 report. So thanks for joining in, everybody. I don't know if I've got a good connection here or not, because usually I can see a big scroll of people that are joining in. So whoever that is, thank you very much. I see a bunch of you on the line. I just can't see who right now. So either Facebook changed their shit or I've got a bad internet connection. Either way, I don't know. But leave me a comment. Let me know who's on the line. And if you don't mind, please hit the share button. I got a lot of crazy shit to tell you about that happened over the weekend on my travel up to Bay City, Michigan, and then over to Lowell, Michigan for a show at the theater there. And big shout out and thank you to Randy and Erica and Sam and Megan and everybody at AJ Bailey's in Bay City who brought me into the show last Friday night, braved the elements, fucking damn near died in the middle of a blizzard on my way up there once I hit Lansing, and then got stuck in the parking lot that was Interstate 69. Almost didn't think I was going to make the gig, but I made it. I was there with just minutes to spare, and it was a wild time. It was probably one of the craziest shows I've had in a long time, and a great way to kick off 2018, just total freeform comedy off of the cast of characters that rolled into that bar. They're all like superheroes. My favorite guy probably was the one who's known as the Silver Fox. You know who you are if you're watching right now. So give me a shout out. Hit me up with some comments. I don't see anything coming through the feed, but usually there's a whole bunch of stuff by now. So I might just have a shitty internet connection. Who knows? It's been crappy weather. It's the fucking planet Hoth out there. I can't stand it, man. I've been cooped up all day inside, drinking coffee, totally charged up because I'm exhausted. I've been exhausted from a long-ass weekend, traveling all over. Just a ton of driving, man, and that is probably the most difficult part for me. Hey, thanks, Nathan. What's up, buddy? Hit the share button if you don't mind, man, and let the folks know that we're coming up to your neck of the woods this May. But yeah, I think that's my favorite part of doing stand-up comedy on the road is traveling the country and getting to go to lots of different places and meet lots of different people, you know, and having all those kinds of crazy, wild adventures and having friends all over the place wherever I go. So that's probably my favorite part, but it gets really fucking tiring just sitting in the car with all my blood pooling in my ass, not doing anything, just cornfields, billboards, and trees just going by after hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. That's the shitty part. That's the part I don't like. And it especially sucks when you have to try to navigate weather. You know, because a lot of people don't know how to drive in shit weather. Even people that live like in Michigan and Wisconsin, Illinois, and Indiana, and Iowa, Minnesota, places where pretty much 6 months out of the year, we have to deal with treacherous shit. And if you've lived here your whole life like I pretty much have in the Midwest, you should know how to do that by now. But you go down the highway, you always see people doing dumb shit. I just don't want to get caught up in that, which is what happened on my way up to Bay City last Friday night. Everything was going smooth, man. GPS had me getting there about an hour and a half before showtime, which is perfect. It's the perfect amount of time that I like to spend. You know, it gives me a little bit of chance to chill, kind of get ready for the show, maybe grab something to eat, maybe something to drink, do a little meet and greet with the people that are there. It gives me plenty of time to do that. But when I got there, you know, when I hit that Lansing, Michigan, on my way up there, an hour and a half left to go, if even that. Boom, stuck on Interstate 69. It was a parking lot. Nobody was going anywhere because there's a big old crash up front. And the Google Maps was telling me that it was going to be at least a 1 hour delay. So then I started freaking out because I didn't think I was going to make the gig. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to make this now, because once they get the crash cleaned up and the car's going, and it's still going to be slow going because it's icy fucking roads, there's no way I'm going to make the gig. And panic set in, man. I even called my wife freaking out. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. What am I going to do? I'm just stuck here. I'm probably going to run out of fucking gas. That was another thing that was freaking me out. Thought I was going to run out of gas just sitting there going nowhere, letting the van run for hours on end, potentially stuck there in a traffic jam outside of Lansing, Michigan, on my way to Flint, where I don't really know anybody. I've got to know some few people in that area, but no one's just going to be able to come out and rescue my ass in the middle of a traffic jam. So I saw people suddenly, out of nowhere, just started cruising backwards down the shoulder of the road, going up the wrong way on the entrance ramp onto the interstate. I'm like, yeah, you know what? There's probably nobody that's going to actually get onto the interstate at this point. I'm only like half a mile ahead of that exit ramp. I'll just drive backwards on the shoulder myself. So that's what I do. I had to drive the wrong way onto the on-ramp of I-69 in order to take the back roads up to Bay City. I made the show in just the nick of time. It was scheduled for 9 o'clock. We wound up kicking it off about 9:30, which is when the crowd was good and primed and ready for it anyway. There was a birthday party right up front. They were good and drunk. They had all kinds of stories to tell and material for me to work with. It was just a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. It was huge freak out for me getting there and getting stuck in that traffic. But once I arrived, it was a fucking blast. It really was. And I'm looking forward to this weekend. It's going to be another fun time when I go to New Berlin, Illinois. Shout out to Kenny Van Dorn and all the folks from Van Dorn Racing who are going to be at the show this weekend. It's a fundraiser for the Van Dorn Racing Team. I'll be working with my co-star in the comedy Battle of the Sexes, the hilarious Katrina Brown, bringing our He Said, She Said comedy show to the Knights of Columbus this Saturday night, January 20th in New Berlin, Illinois. Hey, thanks for the likes and the laughs and the loves. Hit me up with some shares and some comments. I can't see who's on right now. I think I've just got a fucked internet connection, but usually I can give shout outs to anybody who's joining in and answer any comments that come my way, but nothing is coming up the feed right now. It says I've got 8 comments. I can't see any of them. So I apologize for that, but I will answer all of them once I wrap up the live recording. I just want to tell you guys about the crazy fucked up shit that went on this weekend. So here's what happens. I roll into Bay City. So I have all day long. I'm freaking out. You know, I've been traveling all day. I'm kind of tired. I got stuck in the traffic jam outside of Lansing where it looked like there was going to be an hour and a half delay, and I didn't even think I was going to make the show. So I get into the show. I'm trying to get things organized and set up, and somebody comes up to me like, hey, man, when you got on stage, you got to ask Randy, who is the manager of the club there at AJ Bailey. Shout out to Randy right now if you're watching. She goes, you got to ask Randy about her pocket meat. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you talking about, pocket meat. And then she proceeds to show me pictures on her camera phone of Randy carrying around a chicken strip in her front pocket. Apparently he carried around a chicken figure in her front pocket all day. I'm like, all right. So I'll just randomly bring that up and see where it takes me in the middle of the show. So I go, hey, everybody, let's have a round of applause for Randy, blah, blah, blah. Let's hear it for a pocket. I heard something about, I was supposed to ask you about your pocket meat. And the whole fucking room just lights up. Ah! Everybody knew about it. Now, those are tricky situations where someone says, hey, you got to bring up to so-and-so about such and such. And you don't know whether that's a private, totally inside joke. And if you bring it up, that you're just going to completely lose the crowd. It's always a risk. It's always a risk to build up that audience, get them fucking laughing, eating out of the palm of your hands. You're like, okay, now I'm going to throw in the insider information and show them how fucking researched I am, right? They'll be like, wow, this guy's amazing. How did he know about that? And then you throw that shit out there and nobody fucking knows about it, right? It's just a complete inside joke. And then all the momentum that you spent that time and energy building up just fucking falls flat. So it's always a risk. It's always a risk bringing up material and topics based off of a suggestion that somebody gives you before the show about somebody else at the show that's in attendance. It's also a risk because I was talking about this with Willie Farrell last week when he did a live call-in with me, that you never know if it might be the one time when that's the thing you shouldn't bring up because it's sensitive subject matter. I didn't really know what the fuck pocket meat meant. That might be some crazy thing that she's sensitive to, you know? You never know. So I was bringing up, the whole fucking bar lights up. I'm like, all right, we're going to roll with this pocket meat. I'm like, you got pocket meat? You show me yours. I'll show you mine, right? So she pulls out like these 2 little thin pieces of beef jerky that were in her pocket that she'd been carrying around like fucking change. And apparently she wasn't the only one. She wasn't the only one. There was some other dude sitting right up front. I think it was Pervert Pete or Pistol Pete or Pete Pebbles. I can't remember. If there's somebody from Bay City that was at the show at AJ Bailey's last Friday night, leave a comment. Let me know what that guy, the Pete guy that was up front, wasn't he the one that pulled out like a deer sausage or some shit that he'd been carrying around in his fucking pocket? That brings me back to when I was a little kid, man, running around the mean streets of Colfax, Iowa. You don't see that much these days. Kids just run around town with no adult supervision, getting into all kinds of hijinks. When I was like 6, 7, 8 years old, that's pretty much all we did in the summertime, just run around town, getting into fucked up trouble. And back then I was known for every once in a while grabbing a half-eaten bag of hot dogs, you know, like a half-filled package of hot dogs out of the refrigerator and carrying them around in my back pocket of my Levi's, and I would just snack on all those all day long. So I did pocket meat back in the day. I just never called it that. I just thought about that was just something I did as a kid. I didn't know that was a thing that you were known for as a grown fucking adult, but I guess so if your name is Randy and you live in Bay City, Michigan. Shout out to everybody, man. It was so much fucking fun. And then there's another part I also want to bring up. Shout out to the lady who God damn it, and I can't remember her name, and I feel so fucking bad about it, who gave me the reference of pocket meat to begin with, who I later on referred to as someone who looked like my middle school PE teacher, you know, and then I made some lesbian jokes and things like that, and they're like, what, you're throwing me under the bus? I gave you the pocket meat material, blah, blah, blah. It's so funny. It's like you call someone a lesbian because based on how they look, you're throwing out a total stereotype. Turns out she was. It's like most of the time I throw these stereotypes out in the fucking show, and it's true, man. They actually turn out to be true. It's the craziest shit. You know, people act like they're offended, but you can't really be offended because you can't argue with reality. You know what I mean? Everybody just recognizes that the situation is true, whether it's a fucked up deal because the comedian comes in and he's working with 22 people that battled the elements just to come to a late night bar show, you know, and I arrived late and they were all cool about it. And I was all fucked up and drinking and just free forming it and going off the material of the crowd. People recognize that and they like that. And they like it when you do improv, even if you push the border, even if you push the envelope just a little bit here or there. You know, they recognize that. They like that when you keep it true and honest and real and authentic. I say a lot of fucked up shit, and I think the only reason I can get away with it is because to keep it in the spirit of fun, keep it in the spirit of reality, you know, kind of call people out on the shit that some people think or everybody thinks, but not necessarily everybody will say. But you say it in a funny way. You say it in a funny way, and then that's how it fucks people up, because you don't have to worry about being politically correct. I could say the most fucked up shit there is, but I do it in a way that makes people laugh their asses off. If you do it right, you do it in a way that makes people laugh their asses off, and then they realize, oh my God, I'm laughing at some fucked up shit here. This is totally sick and twisted what this guy's talking about, and it completely flip-flops their idea of what's right or wrong. It turns the whole sense of morality upside down, and then you can get away with saying some crazy shit. Of course, it's always in the spirit of fun. It's never in the spirit of hatefulness. It's never in the spirit of targeting somebody and trying to shame them. It's always in the spirit of fun, but then you can say and do some crazy shit on stage and people just get it for what it is. Just entertainment. Just a way to escape the real life bullshit, not get so consumed in political correctness, you know, just fuck with their heads a little bit. One of my favorite things to do, and I saw a lot of this going on last Friday night and Saturday night when I went over and did the theater gig, that was packed full. Big shout out to Jerry Donovan and Mike Chambers and Pat Sievert and everybody there that was at the gig in Lowell on Saturday night. But when I see a lot of this, one of my favorite things is when I see somebody's eyes bugged out, hand over their mouth, and their fucking belly bouncing up and down because they're trying to hold in the gut laugh that they can't help but feel. It's an involuntary reaction. It's not the courtesy laugh. It's not just some ha ha ha, very good. You know, I appreciate the cleverness of the joke. It's nothing. It's a fucking full-on emotional reaction. Belly laugh. You see that belly bouncing up and down, their eyes wide open, hand over their mouth trying to hold it in because they know that if they laugh out loud, they'll be admitting that they like sick and twisted fucking humor. And you see a whole bunch of people doing that around the crowd. That's my favorite part. And I'll even call them out. You guys got to let that shit out. Let it go. Let it go. So I hope you guys come out. Anybody who's watching right now that might be in the Illinois area, please come out this Saturday night to New Berlin. It's just south of Springfield. I'll be joining forces with Katrina Brown, the mutant queen of comedy, in the comedy battle of the sexes at the Knights of Columbus. It's a fundraiser for the Van Dorn racing team. So shout out to Kenny Van Dorn and all the folks from that. And thank you for making us part of your entertainment this year to raise funds for the team. It's going to be a lot of fun. Katrina and I haven't worked together since November, and so we're going to be dusting off the wheels, dusting off whatever the phrase is. We might be a little rusty, is what I'm saying, but it'll be a good time because that is when I think the best comedy happens, when it's wheels off, when it's unpredictable. And we do our Q&A, question and comments with the crowd after the show. We each do about an hour of material-ish, and then we start taking questions and just doing off-the-cuff comedy, making up material on the fly based on the questions and the comments that the audience sends us. It's the he said, she said Q&A, one of my favorite things that we started doing last year, and we're going to continue it into 2018. Again, shout out to Jerry Donovan of Jerry Donovan Comedy for bringing me into the theater there in Lowell, the Larkins Restaurant, the Other Place Theater. That was a really good fucking time. And that's, you know, and I'm glad that I got to do that show the second night because that is a soul crushing fucking experience when you go into the theater, the big gig, the packed house one night and then drive overnight or go through treacherous weather or whatever it is and then barely make the show on time and there's 22 fucking people in there. That can be fucking soul crushing, totally soul crushing. And that shit's happened before, too. You know, one time I was doing the show, the Dirty Jokes and Magic Trick show with Nathan Tricky Allen. I think we were in Rush City, Minnesota, somewhere in Minnesota, right there on the Mississippi River, southern Minnesota. And I had a show the next night for a bike rally almost up by Green Bay, Wisconsin. So we do the show on the Friday night in Minnesota, huge fucking packed crowd, 200 people in attendance. I get a standing ovation after a 3-hour show, right? They're parading you out on the fucking Cleopatra throne, like you could be voted in for mayor the next week if you held the election, right? Everybody's loving you and chanting your name. And then I had to drive the next day to do this bike rally on the Saturday, and oh shit, was that a reality check. You drive all day long and show up at the bike rally. Apparently the bikers had already been there all day long, had been drinking the entire time. They were too fucking drunk to stick around for the comedy show. And then that was going to be like the grand finale the whole day. The jer-dog's appearance, right? So like 9 o'clock rolls around. There's like 8 fucking people in the bar. There's 8 fucking people at the show. Just soul crushing. I'm coming off of that gigantic ego boost on the Friday night just to have the fucking rug pulled out from under me on the Saturday night. Back to reality, baby. So this last weekend in Michigan was a lot of fucking fun in the sense that I braved the elements, traveled 12 goddamn hours, barely made the show on time, did the show. It was a lot of fun up there at AJ Bailey's in Bay City. 22 people just completely free-forming it, going off the cuff. And thank you guys so much for being a part of that and giving me a lot of material to go off of and be willing to participate and laugh at, even though a lot of the material was sick and twisted and demented. And probably if I were to listen to the audio recording today, I'd be like, what kind of shit was I on? Thinking of half that crap that I said came out of my mouth. But the important thing is we all had a good time. We all had fun. And that was the perfect warm-up to drive the other 3 hours to Lowell, Michigan, just outside of Grand Rapids for a show there at the Larkins. I think it's is it Larkins? Larkins Restaurant, the Other Place, the theater right there. It's a dinner theater. And they had the setup. It was like a living room. Looks a lot like my living room, actually. It was pretty cool. some antique furniture in there, like a old leather desk was in there. I was checking it, see if my weed stash was still available. There's some Budweiser mirrors, shit like that. I felt right at home. So shout out to you guys, and thank you very much for making that happen. That was a good way to end it, because the show on Friday night was just a nice build up, a nice warm up to being able to go in and crush it for 180 people at Larkin's Theater. If I don't know if I'm saying it right, Larkin's venue, the other place. Anyway, you guys know who you are. Thank you guys very much for watching today. I'm going to have comedian Chris Shaw on Wednesday for my 420 report, Hump Day Happy Hour. So make sure to check that out. I'll send out some information and some posts here on Facebook to remind you of all that. But I'll be back tomorrow, 4:20 p.m. or as close as possible. And hit me up with some comments and things like that. Some shares, some likes. Until then, 4:20 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. Tuesday, January 16th. I'll be back then. I'll see you then. Got to take my kid to a Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. concert right now. So, hey, everybody, what can I tell you? I can't see who actually commented or things. I don't know what went on with my internet. Otherwise, I'd give you all shout outs right now. But I'll see you tomorrow at 4:20 p.m. or as close as possible. Until then, dog bless America.